pramana, apta vachana we have to take, and we will prove that all this is based on science. Physiography. Physiography is a branch of physical science dealing with the variations of weather, their effects, how the breeze comes, and how the difference between the mountain air, the plain air, and the sea air. It's called as physiography. There's a doctor expert, decades of research and investigation in the field of physiography, Dr. Thornton. He came to the conclusion that when an eclipse is on, especially solar eclipse, the delicate nerves of the gastric region in the body of even the strongest man or an animal gets affected. And it was therefore desirable to fast during eclipse. Little children in India know, and we all do that. I mean, those of us who have not become ultra rationalistic, who are not ashamed to own things that have come to us from our forefathers, rest of all follow this. This is our Sanadhan Dharma. Quite interesting is another research by Dr. Henderson of Madras University in 1934. He is a physiology professor in Madras University, and after retiring from service, he carried on researches in chemical therapeutics. The chemical therapeutics, he wanted to do research on the betel leaf we all use in India. He asked his colleagues if there are any particular rule applied to use this betel leaf, and people told him that it's an ancient custom obtaining among the ladies to, they will normally what they eat is they will remove the stem, they will remove the tip, and also they will remove the lines, and only the regular leaf is used for chewing purposes. So he started his research, and he found there are four different chemical constituents in the root, the tip, and the lines across, and the rest of the leaf. And they have different chemical effects and they have different chemical properties. The stem of the leaf contains a poison which interferes with the growth and positively retards the oxyhemoglobin in the blood. So it has to be avoided. The tip, normally we remove the tip. The tip contains, scientists call the aphrodisiac of the third degree. Aphrodisiac is the medicine which stimulates sexual power, and it is of 3 degrees, and it helps in reproductive system, digestive system. So the lines across the leaf are said to contain a poison of morphic nature, which is injurious to brain. The fourth, the leaf, the proper leaf is beneficial and may be taken with best advantage for reproductive system and for digestive system. It's a daily tonic for toning up the digestive system, reproductive system, without any side effects. Sanadhan Dharma, which prohibits the use of betel leaf by sannyasis, brahmacharis, and also widows, and it is extensively used by people who are grahasthas, so that it increases the reproductive power, digestive power, and gives them the strength without any side effects. It's a revelation, modern science of the principles which our Sanadhan Dharma is based. So, another branch of study we will see, mathematical astronomy. It was experienced 600 years ago that people practicing astronomical observations, they injured their eyesight by observing the planets and the stars. Naturally, this was a handicap to the work of investigation, and therefore a scientist deeply thought over it and investigated the question why the injury to the eye was caused and how it could be avoided. The conclusion was arrived, and that it was particularly the observation of the sun that was responsible for such injury to the eye. The trouble started with ordinary weakness of the eye, then it developed into color blindness, then into partial blindness, afterwards complete blindness. The result was that in course of time, people desisted from observatory work. The further investigation that was carried on for centuries have led to the final conclusion, which is accepted by all scientists, that the central rays of the sun are good. The central rays to the eye. it's good to the eye, that the circumferential rays are injurious. Students of mathematical astronomy will remember that there is what is called as the eyepiece, and in that eyepiece there is what is called the annular ring. Its main purpose is to conserve the central rays and bring them to the eyes and to radiate the circumferential rays. Circumferential rays it will avoid. What is the ring after all? What is this ring? It is a thing which you know of it, which you are very familiar with in the mudra of Upasana Kanda, in the mudra when we perform Gayatri in Sandhya Vandan and other ceremonial Karma Kanda work such as puja, there are gestures with the fingers which the modern rationalist they laugh at, scoffs at, ridicules us. The annular ring is nothing but the Yamapasa mudra, which comes into the mudra portion of the mantra sastra. The shape of it is the same as the annular ring. They make it as like this. When we see the sun, we do it like this. And this annular ring was discovered after about 500 or 600 years of research after causing the loss of sight to hundreds of persons. In the name of social reform in India, you have many persons who come and tell you the system should be abolished. There are responsible persons. They come and tell you that there should be only one caste. And if at all, if there is any caste at all in humanity, it should be of only sexes, male and the female. Propaganda has been going on for a long time. A basic preliminary question to these fellows, social reformers. You have been carrying on your propaganda with all sorts of extraneous help, political help, financial help, funding, all these years in India in the name of rationalization and science for reducing the number of caste. What have you achieved? What have these social reformers achieved? They have not been able to reduce the number of caste even by one. All the caste, subcaste, the subsection sections, they were already there, and only one thing has to be added: one caste which does not believe in caste. What is the basis of these arguments of the social reformers? They are based neither on sociology nor on science. How do I say this? Based on a scientific research. Dr. Galton and Pearson, Dr. Abraham of Chicago University, USA, they are greatest of scientists. They are scientists who does analysis of blood of all animals, including man. For example, you have a young man going to a civil court saying that something which cast a slur on his mother's character. Suppose he says that his younger brother is the son of his mother, but not of to his father, so he is not entitled to the property. So what the court can do? No evidence can be taken in such a case. So they rely on this. In such cases, modern science take the immense help from Dr. Abraham. He has invented an instrument called, the name is root, oscillate. The instrument is called oscillometer, oscillograph. By means of oscilloscope, the man and woman's and the child blood are examined. Were able to see whether the child is a particular parent. Court of law accept these results. Current day DNA test has started from the oscillograph, oscillometer, which was invented in Chicago University. Research has been found. Abraham instrument has distinguishes from one blood to the other blood. It seems there are about 48 classifications of blood, with many internal classifications in one class which they have not even gone into. As against the four main caste of India, Varnas. People who object to this existence of four caste classifications, Varnas, have no objection to these 48 classifications of blood. They are up against when you say you are a Brahmana or a Kshatriya or a Vaisya or a Sudra, but they are not prepared to accept classifications. They are very much accepting these 48 classifications of blood. They have no problem. So coming back to the instrument, the oscilloscope has two pendulums. When there is a couple of opposite sexes willing to marry, they consult. Then in one pendulum, the woman's blood is put and it made into a capsule. In the other pendulum, the man's blood is put and it made into a capsule and they start oscillating. In the first case, when the pendulum meet together and they stay intertwined inextricably, the instrument shows that the offspring will have signs of mental weakness. And that if the process of such marriage is continued for generations, the result will be, in the words of Dr. Ernest Abraham, the different stages of mental weakness, reaching finally to the worst forms of insanity, and also, secondly, where the pendulum meet and repel each other and stay apart. The instrument indicates physical deterioration in the child until at last, if the process is repeated, it will lead to impotency in the male and barrenness in the female. Thirdly, where the oscillation goes on continuously, the result is that the mental and physical characteristic of the child will be of envious type. An analysis shows that persons wishing to marry whose blood is tested this way and who come under the first category are connected by blood. They are connected by blood, that is, are related to each other. If they fall under the second classification, they are persons belonging to the different communities. And if under the third, they are not blood relations but still belong to the same community. If we take this marriage laws under Sanadhan Dharma, marriage within the same caste is enjoined but prohibited up to a certain degree on a father's side and on the mother's side. One cannot marry mother's sister's daughter. A man cannot marry, but he can marry father's sister's daughter. Our Shastras have laid down in this down long, long ago. The modern science proves it today through the oscilloscope, oscillometer. The question therefore arises, how did our ancient rishis discover these things? It may be by experience which have now forgotten, or it may be by a yoga or a jnana drishti. So the result is that there is a difference in eligibility for marriage, that Vivarna marriage is forbidden and Savarna marriage is alone is prescribed, and even there it is prescribed that it should not be within the Gotra. These rules find the justification of the discoveries of the modern science through the oscilloscope. If you go a step further, Dr. Abraham again says when there is a marriage between the two different classes or kinds of people, the result has naturally to be inferred to be intermediate between the two, just as in the case of chemical compounds and mixtures. There are five oxides of nitrogen, N2O, and if you mix them in various proportions, the results will vary. People who are unwilling to accept the four varnas now come forward and say, there are only four castes to start with, four varnas to start with. How do you believe in so many castes in the present day? They will ask you. The answer to the question is very simple. Suppose he asks a chemist to name all the metals known to chemistry, he will say gold, silver, iron, copper, platinum, etc. But if you show him a rupee, which is not a pure silver, but is an alloy of many, he cannot say that there can be no such thing. He cannot deny that this is not a metal. Similarly, here the permutation and combination of original four varnas have developed into 48 at the present day blood groups through mixtures in different proportions, and the proportions are ratio or a degree or the mixture is responsible for the differences in the result. So the diseases. So Sanatana Dharma is based on strong principles of modern medicine, long, long back ago, and we have not paid any money to that discoveries. And it was all told to our own interest. And I can quote many examples of our traditions, beliefs, and faith of Sanatana Dharma is based on science, even though there is no need, because you don't ask a doctor about anatomy, physiology, pharmacology for taking medicine, but only here to divide the Hindu community. They make fun of our own traditions and beliefs. They are spreading the concords among the Hindu society, which they have already divided enough. So, again, it is based on science. Follow Sanatana Dharma.